Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for tuning in for another episode of The Maximum Sentence. Starting this off a little bit differently today. This is actually being recorded after the original recording that you will see momentarily. But I wanted to point out a couple of lines that I said in my latest single, The Lincoln and Lincoln Job Fair, where I say, two words don't go together, Joe and depression, a popsicle with hopeless objections, mostly suppression. So these lines resonate a little bit differently today after finding out about the untimely passing of former Miss USA pageant winner Cheslie Kryst, who took her own life at the tender age of 30 years old. This was a sister who, like I said, she won the pageant back in 2019, but she also was barred in 2 different states to practice law. She was working for a law firm, a civil law firm that helped prisoners who may have received unjust sentences to get their sentences reduced. She was somebody who was on the front lines of really trying to help to reform the criminal justice system. She also was a correspondent for Extra TV. She received 3 degrees from 2 universities. This was a very accomplished sister by the time that her life came to an unfortunate and tragic end. And so I say this because I know a lot of people who are in the law field, a lot of people who are in high stress positions, who are dealing with mental health, who are trying to get the help that they need. They may go to therapists, they may go to counseling, whatever it might be, or they may not be doing any of these things at all. And so I would say for any of us who know these people, who know a lawyer, who may know somebody who's in another high stress field, to just check on your strong friend. Make sure that they're okay, give them a call, DM them, send them a message. You just never know whether or not that simple showing of care and concern could be the thing that saves their life. And for anybody who may be having mental health issues or might be dealing with certain things, maybe having suicidal thoughts, please make sure that you contact the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-8255. And so I start this off by saying, rest in power, Cheslie Kryst.
Spit bars, I stand behind mine. Yeah. Sentences I serve, maximize guidelines. My lawyer can't give me his advice when he's beats that I murder carry mandatory minimums of life. Yikes. In case you didn't get the point, we spit bars.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of The Maximum Sentence, where there's conviction behind the bars. I'm your man, AJ Throwback. Great to be here with you on another awesome Wednesday, where we are continuing our conversation regarding my latest single, The Lincoln and Lincoln Job Fair, breaking it down, unpacking, all of that good stuff. But before we get into anything else, what I need everybody to do, if you are watching this and this is your first time watching anything I've done, please make sure that you like, comment, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the bell notification so whenever I go live or premiere a new video like I'm doing today, you'll be one of the first people to know. Now, we got that out of the way. I want to make sure that I thank everybody who has been tuning in for the first 3 episodes of this series. I definitely appreciate all of the love and the support and the great feedback everybody's given regarding this series, where, it's just an extra conversation on top of the bars. And speaking of which, I want to get to some of the comments that I've been receiving from people. I want to first start off with my sister, none other than Ansley, Jukeboxx, Joye. Definitely appreciate you for tuning in. Make sure that y'all are following her and tune in for her music, man. She is an incredible artist, truly supportive of everything that I've been doing. I want to make sure that I get to one of her comments. Dope Conversations, thank you again for another wonderful video. Simple comment, but so appreciative. I mean, she's, like I said, somebody who's very supportive of what I've been doing, definitely supportive of this series, a consistent watcher. Definitely appreciate that consistent support as always. Another comment I want to make sure that I read is from my brother once again, my former partner on the Balancing Act radio show, none other than my brother Ramsey Brown. He says, the best teachers are master students, and I couldn't agree with you more. You really can't teach anybody anything unless you sit and you actually study the material. It's kind of the same thing as somebody who's a leader. You can't lead anybody unless you're following something or you're following someone. There's some principle, there's some philosophy. There's another leader that you're following. So I definitely wholeheartedly agree with that comment. And I also wanted to make sure that I send a huge shout out to his sister, who is a teacher. He made sure to note that in the comments. Definitely salute all of the teachers out there. Y'all are the MVPs, as I said last week. Another comment is from my dad, Mr. Marvin Armstrong. Definitely appreciate you for all of your support that you've been showing me throughout the years with my music and so many other things that I've been doing. Love your perspectives on teachers and the environment that they have to work in. Real talk. Definitely agree wholeheartedly. The thing is, I have the perspective because I grew up with a teacher. You know what I'm saying? My mom was a teacher, like I said last week, special ed teacher, 43 years. A good amount of that time she spent as a teacher's aide. The other good amount of that time was being a teacher. She actually technically spent more time as a teacher than a teacher's aide. But having that experience growing up with her, I just have a greater sensitivity for what teachers have had to go through. And then on top of that, to be honest, I definitely had to have respect for the teachers, because being in the same school where my mom worked, them teachers be like, all right, you better behave. I'm going to tell your mama. I'm like, oh, y'all going to play that card, huh? Every single time if I get out of line. So I had nothing but respect for the teachers. I had to. But anyway, definitely appreciate that comment. Another quality comment comes from my brother, Marchello Bradley, of What's Up With You. Like I said last week, please make sure that if y'all not already subscribed to his YouTube channel, check out all the great content that he has in tow. Always has on great guests. His comment, he says, man, you did such a good job of talking about the experiences teachers go through. I forgot you were breaking down bars. Great monologue. One question, how are you going to consider being a teacher for the time of the year when you don't have to teach? So let me get to the first part of that comment first. So what I appreciate about that comment is this is exactly why I'm doing this series, to create conversations beyond the bars, so that you forget that what you're even watching, what you're even consuming has to do with rap lyrics, because it's deeper than lyrics. It's all about how can you take that conversation that starts from the lyrics and build upon that and foster even more conversation and even foster change from there. Because a lot of the things that I talked about last week and that I'll talk about in the subsequent weeks with a lot of the other lyrics that I'll be breaking down, not only from this song but from future songs, that's really what it's all about. How do we foster changing the narrative with certain things in our society, with teachers, with what I'm going to talk about today, with lawyers, and with other aspects of our society? How can these conversations create more change? So thank you so much for that part of the comment, and thank you for the latter half of it too, because I'm gonna tell you like this: the reason why I can consider the part of the year why I don't have to teach is because I don't have to teach. I ain't got to deal with nobody's persnickety, temperamental behind kids. I don't have to deal with no parents all up in my face talking about, my kid got this grade and this and this and that and the third and blah, 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 blah. I don't have to deal with a principal telling me about some kind of a protocol that's in place. I don't have to worry about dealing with the red tape of whatever school district that I'm working in. I don't have to worry about that stuff during the summer. But all in all, I don't have to worry about it at all, because I ain't gonna be nobody teaching. But I won't say never. Who knows? I might teach something at some point, like formally teach, because to Ramsey's comment, one of his comments said the best teachers, or something along those lines, lead by example. So I definitely appreciate Ramsey for saying that. In a lot of ways, I am a teacher, but in the formal sense, I'm not a teacher. But that summer vacation is very alluring, and to be honest, teachers deserve those breaks in the summer after everything that they have to put up with for the entire school year. So short answer, that's why I would consider teaching, because of that time that I don't have to teach. I put it like that. So I appreciate that entire comment, Marchello. Appreciate that. The last comment I'm going to read is from my brother, none other than the homie, J S.o.l R8Di0. Salute to you, my brother. He had a comment on Instagram. So he says, always appreciate how you break the lyrics down. And that's very important, because it's so much deeper than just saying a lyric or putting it out there. The important thing for me is that there has to be a conversation beyond the lyrics themselves. You have to be able to listen to things. You have to be able to say it in a way that people connect with it even deeper than hearing it the first time. Because sometimes people miss certain things the first time that you listen to it or the first time you hear it, because it's the first time you hear it, and sometimes you might miss things even on the second, third, fourth, fifth time. But that's the beauty of being able to sit here and break these lyrics down. This is one of the things that I enjoy the most. It's so much deeper than just spitting the bars. It's being able to explain the bars and have a backstory behind it. I'm always about the backstory, the origin story with anything or anyone, whether it's my bars or somebody else's bars. So I definitely appreciate that comment. Now, let's get to the meat and potatoes of why we're here today. We are breaking down the second half of the second verse of my latest single, The Lincoln and Lincoln Job Fair. And we're going to go ahead and play that part of the song right now.
How about the law? Got a PoliSci degree. And how about the not? Court is double dead. People talking slime to me. Needing the bathing holy waters of the Nazareth. I leave it to Kevin Lomax to play the advocate. Two words don't go together. Joe and depression. But possible with hopeless objections. Motion suppressions. Besides, there's a reason why lawyers always demand them. 2 cents is nothing with selling men knocking at your door. Front me, go front me. Of course so.
Let's get to the first couple of bars where I say, well, how about the law? Got a PoliSci degree. And how about the nah? Court is double dare. People talking slime to me. So, PoliSci degree. I got my degree from Hobart and William Smith Colleges in Geneva, New York, which is in the Finger Lakes region of upstate New York, not far from Rochester, Syracuse, Ithaca, all of that good stuff. Graduated in 2001. One of the biggest reasons why I even pursued getting that degree was because my mentor, shout out to my mentor, Mr. James Wright, who is currently working for the Washington Informer, which is actually the first paper that I was working for when I came out of college. So shout out to my mentor. One of the things he told me was not to major in journalism. He said major in the field that is going to be your focus of journalism. So I majored in political science and English, and that's how I was attacking that. I wasn't thinking about being a lawyer. When I came out of college, like I said, one of my first jobs was working for the Washington Informer, and my goal was to be a political correspondent for the Washington Informer. But then I started working for Adrian Fenty when he was Ward 4 council member in Washington, D.C. And so I was his legislative analyst from 2001 to 2003. I came out of school utilizing that political science degree and the English degree immediately. And then on top of that, I had to write a whole bunch of letters and all types of stuff, press releases, all different types of things. But I think because I was a political science major and because I was in the legislative branch of the DC government, I think the natural course that people thought that I would take would be to be a lawyer. One of my good friends, shout out to my homie JT, who is a lawyer himself, comes from a family of lawyers. We went to junior high and high school together. He saw a certain level of intelligence with me. Then he saw the path that I took, including my time with Adrian Fenty, including my time with the Washington Informer, including my degree, and also factoring in the fact that I was level 1 youth mayor of Washington, D.C. between 1995 and 1996. A lot of times, like those things, like if you look at that origin story, it would make you think, oh, well, maybe a natural trajectory would be in the law. And then also, I probably wouldn't be surprised if part of it was he would have loved to see one of his homies be in the law field along with him. Because to be honest, I know a lot of people who are lawyers, and it can be a lonely field when you don't know a lot of people who look like you, who came up with you, that have the same intelligence level, if not more. Because a lot of people in the law field, specifically in DC, are not from DC. So to be around somebody or know somebody who went to the same schools as you went to, got a lot of the same education, and even took it further to certain degrees, is probably a little bit of that expectation of, hey, you know what I'm saying? Hey, be in the field with me. And I definitely respect that. I don't know if that's necessarily what his thinking was completely, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of that came into play. I also think about the very man who actually married me and my wife. Rest in peace to the late, great Reverend Joe McGee. And the minute that I told him what my degree was in, every time I would see him up until the last time I saw him before he passed away, he would always say to me, when you getting that law degree, every single time, I'm like, hey, whenever it comes, if it happens, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be, and the thing is, I always laughed and joked about it, but at the same time, going to the line, court is double dip, people talking slime to me. I had a front row seat watching court proceedings as a courtroom clerk. My day job, for a lot of people who may not know, I worked for the Superior Court of the District of Columbia for between 2004 and 2008, where I was a courtroom clerk. So as a courtroom clerk, I saw literally everything unfold in the courtroom. I was the courtroom manager, so I had to manage the judges. I had to manage the lawyers, whether you're talking defense lawyers, prosecutors. I had to manage the defendants. I had to manage the people in the audience. I had to manage the people who were with pretrial services or the probation office or the parole office. I had to manage all of these different people, and seeing court proceedings, seeing how law unfolds right then and there, it's twofold. On one hand, it's very intriguing. You see how everything, like, you really have to argue your case. You really have to know case law. It's so many things that you have to understand about being a lawyer that sometimes they show on TV and sometimes that they don't. It's a lot more complicated. And that's part of the reason, to be honest, why I feel like I could not be an attorney, at least not in the realm that I'm used to being in. So it's like, I'm good on that. If I were to be like a criminal attorney, let's just use that as an example. Let's just say I'm on the defense side. It's the whole thing, and this brings me to this line: needing to bathe the holy waters of the Nazareth. I'll leave it to Kevin Lomax to play the advocate. Anybody who's ever seen the movie The Devil's Advocate with Keanu Reeves, Al Pacino, that's Keanu Reeves' character, Kevin Lomax. And he has to navigate so many different things in order to really rectify his soul, because he's defending people that he knows are reprehensible human beings. And it's like, okay, is it worth my soul? Is it worth my family? Is it worth the money? Is it worth all of the exposure? Is it worth all of these things that I'm trying to manage in order to defend this person? And it's not in every case that you're defending a slimy person, but in a lot of situations, I've literally seen people have to defend people that is like, them Bama's is guilty. They did what they trying to say they didn't do, but they did. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, this is the type of stuff that you have to deal with. But on the other side of it, on the prosecutorial side, the thing is, I'm black. I'm from DC. I grew up as somebody who witnessed people become victims of the system. Whether it was a thing whereas it was necessity, or whether it was a thing where people just, hey, they out there trapping, or they out there doing what they feel like they need to do, or what they have to do, or they feel like they don't have any options. Either way, no matter how you cut it, no matter how you slice it, it would be very hard for me, even though a part of me would want to stand up for people who have been wronged, stand up for people who are victims. At the same time, a lot of the people who come through this revolving door of the court system are victims too. You could talk school to prison pipeline. You could talk all of these different things that don't get talked about when you think about all of these defendants that come through the court system. And to think about that and to try to weigh all of that out, I'm just like, I don't know if I really want to do that. And then, if you look at the other divisions of the court, I'm just mentioning criminal. We haven't even gotten to family divisions. Please, that's a whole nother animal. Let me tell y'all right now, when I first got recruited as a courtroom clerk, they asked me, do you want to be a criminal or do you want to be a family? I told them straight up, let me be in criminal, because I know how deep and how dark and how gut-wrenching it can be when you're talking about family matters, when you're talking about domestic relations, all of these different things that is like, they can be very sensitive subjects. And I'm like, if you think criminal is bad, family can be even worse. And then, I think I'm not really into civil law. I'm not really into tax law. It's all of these different types of law that you could do that I'm just like, it's not really for me. So that's that. Now, getting to the next set of bars. Two words don't go together, Joe and depression, but possible with hopeless objections, motion suppressions. So it's actually motions to suppress, but that's a whole nother thing. When you think about the mounds of paperwork that you have to sift through, all of the case law that you have to read, all of these different things that you have to do as a lawyer. Now, granted, you got paralegals, you got all of these different people that's on your staff. If you're in a private firm or whatever, you have a lot of people that are going to help you. But still, there's a lot of the work that you have to do as the lawyer to know your part of it, so that when you're arguing in court, you can argue your case effectively, no matter what kind of law you practice. And to be honest, I'm not the paperwork guy. I hate paperwork. I don't even like looking through too much mail. If I'm being real, like if I got to sit there and read through a whole bunch of case law and whatnot, it's not something that gets me excited. And the whole thing of having to argue my case, no matter what side of the law I'm on, it gets tiring after a while. The amount of hours that you put in to make sure that you are putting the best amount of effort into a case, it's exorbitant. And to think about it even a step further, if you're in a division where you have multiple clients, you don't just have one client. You got if you're a public defender, all the power to you. Godspeed. Because seriously, if you look at certain areas of the country, one of the things I think about is the state of Louisiana, where they are really struggling for getting defense attorneys, public defenders, for a lot of these defendants that are locked up. A lot of these defenders are spending more time in jail just because there isn't a public defender or there isn't an adequate attorney to defend their case. That's the type of stuff that is like, when you think about the backlog of paperwork, backlog of cases, it's just a lot. And I'm sorry, that's something that would really eat at my spirit. That's something that would really tear at my heartstrings every single day, because I would feel like I'm not doing enough. I'm not putting enough of an effort into this person's case or that person's case because the caseload is just too heavy, So, and I mean, it's not to say that it would absolutely happen that way, but it is a strong possibility. And that's the thing that you have to think about when it comes to being in the law field. So that's another deterrent. And then going to the next lines where I say, besides, there's a reason why lawyers always demanding more. 2 cents is nothing with Sally Mae knocking at your door. Front me, GoFundMe, I thought so. So those bars are very important because for several reasons. Number one, you go to law school. I know people that are still paying on their law school loan, and they graduated law school 10 years ago, 15 years ago, some people even 20 years ago. That's why they get paid so much, because look at the bill that they have to pay once they come out of law school. I know a bunch of people who have had to defer their payments because they haven't really been able to afford it. Because here's the kicker. You go to law school, you graduate from law school. Then you think about all the things that you have to do on top of that. You got to pass the bar. That costs. You got to get licensed in the state that you're practicing law. That costs. All of these different things cost before you can even practice law in whatever jurisdiction that you're barred in. And then it's not even a guarantee that you're going to get a job at a law firm. I know plenty of people who they've worked for different agencies in the government or whatever, but it wasn't necessarily being a straight out lawyer. A lot of times it was looking over the law. It was looking at cases based on the law, but not necessarily practicing law. Yeah, they put their law degree to use, but it wasn't doing exactly what they wanted to do. And sometimes those jobs don't pay a whole lot of money, and you still got those law school bills that you on the hook for. And in certain instances, depending on what your undergrad bill is looking like, you might still be on the hook for undergrad. It all depends. These are all things that you have to consider when you're getting into these particular professional fields, like being a lawyer, like being a doctor. You have to pay for the extra education unless you get like a scholarship or something like that. I know people who've gotten scholarships to go to grad school, but they're few and far between. Most people I know, they're still paying bills from their time in grad school. That's a lot to deal with. And to be honest, one, I ain't feel like going to school another 2-3 years. Two, I basically went to school when I came out of undergrad because I got a scholarship, academic scholarship to go to school. By the time I came out of undergrad, you know how much my bill was? $4,500. That was it. That's all I was on the hook for. I was blessed, but I didn't want to have to sit there and then go to law school, go somewhere like, I don't know, Georgetown. And next thing you know, I got a $100-something thousand bill coming out of law school because that's how much these law schools want a lot of times. Some of the best ones, they're hitting you in the head to go to their institution. That's crazy. I'm not trying to do that. And for everybody who kept trying to push me to go to law school, I'm like, all right, that's why I said, front me, GoFundMe. Where the people that's gonna pay for this law school bill? Where you at? Don't hear you. No crickets. That's why I said I thought so. Because everybody will tell you what you need to be doing, but there are very few people that are actually gonna put their money where their mouth is when it comes to something like that. You gonna be on the hook for paying that law school bill. None of the people who were trying to push you in that direction, you gonna be on the hook for that. I wasn't trying to be on the hook for another $100-something thousand. I don't want a law school debt on my hands. Now, I will say this in closing. I will say this. The only type of law that I will entertain doing is entertainment law because I'm in this field. And I'll be honest, it's something that I feel like a lot of people in this industry, they need a certain level of protection. They need to be educated on certain things, especially as it pertains to the law. Because a lot of times, like, you need people that are going to be able to read these contracts. You need people that are able to help artists draft up certain contracts. I wouldn't mind being able to do that because to a certain degree, I do it now. But I don't know if I want to go to law school, go through a certain amount of education. I don't know if I have the patience to go through another 2 or 3 years of school and then come out with an exorbitant bill unless I'm caking it already and I can pay for that bill largely on my own, even if it takes a while to do it. But that's really my whole analysis with this thing. I will say this, I would be a lawyer. Strangely enough, I would be a lawyer before I would be a teacher. Mainly because, like I said, if it were entertainment law, that's something that I feel like I'm well versed in because I've been in the field as an artist. I've been in the field as a producer. I've been in the field to different varying degrees that I feel like I can relate to people a little bit more, and people would be able to relate to me because, like, they would be like, well, you've been there, so you get it. And that I'm cool with, that I'm fine with. But will it happen? Only God knows. And that's where I'm gonna leave that right there. So, if you don't have my latest single, The Lincoln Job Fair, this single that I've been talking about for the past 4 episodes, please make sure that you go to my website, BAMMLLC.net. From there, you can actually go to your favorite streaming site. I'm just gonna ask this: if you do stream it, please listen to it in full, add it to a playlist. That's simple. And if you're a buying person, you can buy it from my website or you can buy it from ajthrowback.bandcamp.com. I definitely prefer you buy the single, but I appreciate all support of the single, whether it's a buy, whether it's a stream, it all matters. And I appreciate everybody who's been rocking with the single so far. Definitely let me know your thoughts on everything. You can leave a comment right here on this video, or you can shoot me an email, info@BAMMLLC.net. You can leave a comment or you can send me a video. You send me a video, that's even better because then I can include your video in this video. People can see you, people can hear you, people can put a face with the name. You know what I'm saying? That's even better. But if you want to just keep it simple, leave a comment. That's always good too. So definitely appreciate that. Also, if you love the content that you are seeing on the Maximum Sentence, please make sure that you like, comment, share, and of course subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit the bell notifications so that when I go live or premiere a new video, you'll be one of the first ones to know. And if you are not already following me on social media, I am at AJ Throwback on Facebook and Twitter. And then I am on Instagram and TikTok at A.J.Throwback. So until the next time, I'm gonna break down the first 8-ish bars of that verse. Until then, my name is AJ Throwback. This has been the Maximum Sentence, where there's conviction behind the bars. And I will see y'all next week. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all week, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.
Saying I should do this, do that. Whole time they really saying screw this, pursue that. But I ain't gonna do that. Why not? Cause if I do that, I'm looking at myself in the mirror.